My name is Dr. Caitlin Porter. I'm an assistant professor of management here at the Fogelman College of Business and Economics. The title of my research is The Turnover Contagion Process, an integrative review of theoretical and empirical research. Big picture, the purpose of this project was to integrate the research on the turnover contagion process, but also to clarify what it is and how turnover spreads throughout a workforce. Basically, when we see our coworkers taking steps towards leaving the organization, it causes us to rethink our work arrangement with our organization, and maybe even be thinking about the pros and cons of working here and whether we should also be thinking about taking steps towards leaving. Okay? So this happens through two key processes. In the first process, what we see is that coworkers might be engaging in what we call pre-quitting behaviors. So these are things like complaining about the workplace, or maybe their supervisor, or maybe putting less effort into their work, or maybe not taking on as much responsibility. So when people engage in these types of behaviors, it gives you the sense that they're kind of not in it for the long run. The second way is that we actually might see people leave, right? And when we see people leave, that really makes us think, well, maybe I should think about leaving too. Psychologists call this a social comparison process. So in the social comparison process, what we're doing is saying, it's like, hey, well, this person's leaving, and maybe they're leaving for a better job. So when people like this leave the organization, that really helps, or really encourages us to engage in these social comparisons. We call them upward social comparisons, because we're comparing ourselves to someone who perhaps is doing better than we are. So the final question is, like, well, what can we do to stop this, right? Or what can we do to intervene in the spread of turnover? Okay? So there are a few things that leadership could be thinking about to help intervene in the spread of turnover. One is to conduct exit interviews, right? So collecting information about potential problems that people who have left see in the organization. There are pros and cons with exit interviews, but it is an approach. Another thing we can do is survey our current employees. So we can do things like have pulse surveys or even state interviews, or asking people about what they like about the organization, or maybe what's not going well in the organization. A third thing we can think about, really this is on the leader, is understanding the interpersonal dynamics within the work group. So understanding who is friends with who, right? How they rely on each other, how they work together, right? Because what we see is that when friends leave, when your advisors leave, or when somebody with a complementary skill set leaves, well, people they're connected to might also be thinking about turnover as well. Finally, having a developmental work climate can be very useful, right? So by that I mean having some sort of developmental opportunities or rewards for those who are performing effectively, having clear career paths within the organization so people know where they could move up or where they could go within the organization, having something like a mentoring program, or encouraging peer mentoring so people feel like they're learning and growing within that organization. So overall, my research was able to clarify what turnover contagion is, how turnover actually spreads within a workforce, and help us thinking about how we can disrupt the spread of turnover, right? Just because people leave doesn't mean that we can't stop the spread of turnover. And by doing this research, I hope I've given people insights into how they can intervene.